Okay, so I'm a little overwhelmed with all the stuff that I found in that lockbox, and I went over the letter thing. I'm going to go over some more stuff today. I am taking it a little bit slower, like some of you have suggested. I'll still probably get at least a video out to you guys every day. If I find something big, of course, I'll always post it. Today I got a couple things going over more of the lockbox stuff, so let's just go ahead and get into it. So the first kind of big thing is this photo of this man. You guys have never seen me with short hair and shaved, but he definitely does look related to me. And on the back of it, it says Alexander. Now, until Megan mentioning my grandmother having a younger brother, I had never heard about that or heard about a family member with my same name or anything like that. So that basically just tells me what I was already thinking, is that, especially finding the lockbox, she's totally legit. I believe her 100%. I did call her yesterday after looking at that. I do want her to come back out. She's a little bit hesitant about it. It seems doing whatever she does take a pretty heavy toll on her, and it was significantly heavier here because of whatever it was that was messing with her. I don't know. She said maybe some other time. I guess this time of year, she said, was also not very good for her. A lot of you guys talk about this time of year, so I don't know. We'll see what happens with her. And now about this last journal, this certainly was the most recent of the ones that I've found, so it leads me to believe that he probably had it in his 80s, and it seems that in his older age, he really just came unzipped, because he goes into detail about a ton of things in here. It's way too much for me to do in one video, so I'm just going to touch on something now, and I'm going to have to do a bunch of other videos going over the different things that are in here. Like I said, he might have been in his 80s, so I really can't speak to his mental clarity completely at the time, but with everything else that I've seen, I believe it. So this is some of the stuff I'll show you. Okay, here he talks about the Psalms. He says, servants on a mission, which was the first thing I found of them, servants of Mary, which some of you said, and then sons of man underlined, which is what I found in that old letter. And he wrote, unsure if still active, they mean well, but too dogmatic. Everything is evil to them, stuck in their ways, too focused on eradication, little compassion, which betrays his calling, and his is capitalized, so I assume it's religious. Harold knew this. I should have too. So I already knew that he had split with the kind of very church-focused element of what he did. Now I seem to know why. He mentions Harold, which I've seen referenced a couple times. Also Harold Jr. in that letter. I'm assuming Harold Jr. was his father and Harold was his grandfather. So like I said, this just keeps pushing further back. There's a lot more in this journal. I'm going to give you more updates. I'll try to keep them coming. Okay, before we jump back into the journal today, there's a couple things that I want to go over. Some of you have mentioned, after I found that letter that seems to be referencing Frogette from the 1800s, that she doesn't look old enough to have been around in the 1800s. And I agree completely. I don't understand what's going on there. She does not look that old. Maybe the 1950s or 60s tops. But I don't have her right now. I went back into my grandma's room. She's not there anymore. That's kind of par of the course for her, though, at this point. She just kind of disappears, comes and goes as she pleases. When she does show up again, I will try to see if I can find more details on her. I don't know. I looked around for her, haven't been able to find her. Another thing I want to note that is probably nothing, but since I posted that video with the old letter and the documents inside of it, I have gotten a lot more blocked calls than normal. I know we all get robocalls now, but it has very noticeably kicked up. I did answer one of them and just got a pretty stern person on the other side asking if I was Alex Calvo. I just kind of gave them the same runaround of, who's asking, what do you need to know for? And they just really insisted, is this Alex Calvo, kind of angrily, and I just hung up. And I've gotten a few more of the block calls since then, and I haven't answered. So, it's a little bit freaky, but whatever. We'll see what happens. Okay, the journal entry that I'm going over today seems to be in reference to the Fae activity in the backyard. This looks like a sketch of that tree, what Megan said she thought was a fairy tree. I don't know what else it could be. It kind of looks like a hand. What he has written in here says, still feel uneasy with Faye. Father said Bridget's blessing would last another 200 years at least, but lure on them has me worried. Along with Roland's cross, we're safe, but still don't fully trust. Okay, so again, this goes in line with what a lot of you guys have told me. Some of you seem to know a little bit more about some of this stuff than I do. He was worried about the Fae beings, whatever you want to call them, that seem to be in the backyard. I don't know who Bridget is. Apparently, she did some kind of blessing that was supposed to last for 200 years. I don't know who Roland is. I assume the cross. That's the one that Megan was talking about. That's the one that was referenced in the interview. Again, more of these things just coming together. A lot of you have mentioned that, Fey beings, even if they do seem friendly, they can turn pretty quickly. That seems to be what he was worried about. So I don't know. I'm going to keep looking through this, and I'll keep updating you guys at least daily. Okay, so you guys did even better than I hoped, and you gave me so much information in your comments. I have a lot to go over again, so I got another video to share with you guys. I did not know, the name Bridget didn't mean anything to me. I thought maybe it was somebody that they had known. Maybe it was, I don't know. But I was going to tag somebody, but so many of you have come into the comments to point out that Bridget was a Celtic goddess and was also a saint in the church, and some people think that they're the same person, and so I've been researching that, and I'm just going to show you what I have found. So first I'm going to show you a picture of Bridget, who was a Celtic goddess of a bunch of things, and then I'm going to show you a quick snapshot describing her from Mythopedia to give you a little bit of an idea, but you can go ahead and research her if you want to know more. Okay, and now I'm going to do the same thing with Saint Bridget, who is supposedly a canonized Catholic saint. Like I said, some people think that she's based on Bridget the goddess, but I don't know. So go ahead and take a look. So this element seems to really connect on two parts of this that until now seemed pretty disjointed. I know that my family has been connected with the Catholic Church, seeming to have served in this Sons of Man, whatever it was. And then this Fey, or fair folk, I've been told I should call them, element that's going on back here. It just seemed kind of weirdly contrasting. And this Bridget character, Celtic goddess associated with them, also Catholic saint, seems to be that connecting point. I don't know. This is. I really appreciate it. Like I said, this is amazing. I want to thank you guys all again, because a lot of times I find stuff and I don't really know much about what it is, but there's always somebody out there who knows more than me, and you guys have been incredibly helpful. Like I've said a couple times in the comments, I do plan to write all this down into a book. I've already started. There's going to be a lot of special thanks in there for a lot of you guys who help me out, who point stuff out to me. I really appreciate you guys. So a few of you have pointed out that I was featured on Nuke's Top 5 YouTube channel, which is awesome. He has over 3 million followers, so that's really cool. I'm getting a lot of new followers from that, so welcome to the channel. I hope you guys like what I'm finding. You can go back to the beginning and see this story from there. I really recommend it. It's been pretty incredible. I'm a little bit worn out because some of you who have been around here know that Melissa occasionally likes to just wake up around 3 or 4 a.m. and stay up until 5 or 6, and last night was a big one. So gonna go into the journal again right now. Got a couple other things to talk about too. We'll see. Probably get up 1 or 2 videos today, but I'm pretty exhausted, so we'll see. Before I jump back into the book, I do want to talk a little bit about Roland, the name. We talked about the cross, because you guys mentioned stuff about Bridget. Some people also brought up about the name Roland. There were two people that they thought it might refer to. There's a Saint Roland, and then there's also a Roland who fought for Charlemagne. I was thinking it was more likely the saint because he's associated with Ireland and England, just like some of these other things seem to be. But then reading about this one who fought under Charlemagne, it does seem that Christian relics, or like empowered relics, are associated with him. And so, talking about some kind of special cross, it just seems like maybe that makes some sense. So I'm going to show you a couple of images and some things from Wikipedia. This is a statue of Saint Roland. This is a painting of the Roland who served under Charlemagne. Now something simpler today. Here in the notebook, he seems to be referencing that trunk again, but it seems that he actually replaced it. I'll go ahead and read to you what he had written. It says, need to find new trunk / containers that fits through passage, too deteriorated, blessings worn off. And then he has kind of like a bullet point list that says, needs blessed wood, leather rivets, go to Casadaga for sigil help. If you remember, Casadaga is that like psychic witch community, whatever you want to call it. extra protection for dangerous artifacts case, and then padlock and hasp still good. Keep them capitalized and underlined. So it seems that, near the end of his life, that trunk that he'd had, that came from his grandfather, who I assume was Harold, was basically too deteriorated. I mean, that makes sense to me given how old it would have been at that time. So I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, but I'm sure it was not just that lockbox, and I'm going to keep looking. Slightly more rested today, so I should be able to give you a little bit more. I'm going to go into the journal again. This one today kind of was way more personal than, any kind of big, surprising information. Still kind of surprising, and I'll go into it. It really put me on kind of a tangent that I'm going to go over with you guys. Okay, this passage is actually from near the end of where he was actually writing in this thing. This is a pretty thick journal. He did not finish it before he stopped using it or passed. I'm not sure what came first. I'm just going to go ahead and read what he wrote. This one is a real musing on kind of why he's even doing this, but you'll understand why it struck me pretty hard. It says, "It feels like I'm writing this all down for a reason, for someone, like Harold felt. Something drives me. If you're reading this, maybe a descendant, maybe a curious stranger, it was meant for you. Something drives me to chronicle my thoughts, and I'm well past ignoring such feelings. Whatever you are doing, continue. Something drives you as well. My time is almost done, but nothing feels complete. My granddaughters are women now, going off on their own, but I know what's out there and worry. Maybe it's them who will read this. There is so much behind me, but they are in front. That's life. That's family." So a good amount of interesting stuff in there, what he says about, that drive. A lot of you guys who are a little bit more spiritually adept than I am have mentioned similar ideas of, like this is something that I'm supposed to be doing, or that, it was meant for me. I don't know. Like he said, he felt driven to write that down, that somebody would read it. I'm reading it. He said he felt like Harold, who was his grandfather. Maybe there was a similar kind of dynamic with them. He found his writings or something. Maybe, I don't know, I'll have a grandson or granddaughter who finds what I'm writing down someday. But it's all really interesting. And the things he says about family, even mentioning his granddaughters, which, are my mom and my aunt, just kind of has me feeling a little bit, reminiscing. I mentioned her before, my mother. She passed away. It was in 2014. They said appeared to be a brain aneurysm. I don't know how often they say appeared, but that's what they said. It was very sudden. Here, I'll tell you a little bit about her. This was my mother, Dina. This was like probably around the time I might have been born already, but I would have been pretty young. I loved her a lot. We had a little bit of problems sometimes in our relationship, but we were close. It's been tough without her. I wish that my, Sallow knew her. I wish Melissa could have known her, but I don't know, just reading him talk about her from such a different perspective, it's just got me thinking about her again. I don't know. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to update you guys on and maybe get a little bit of your help. I'm still getting, not as much as it was, but those blocked calls. I need a good way to record my incoming calls because, when I did my interviews before, I just had Sallow's phone so I could call and record at the same time. But I don't know how to set it so that I record my incoming calls. I've looked it up. I found ways that I can record calls from numbers that I know. But if I'm getting a blocked number, I want to be able to record it because I did answer one of these times. And I spoke to somebody a little bit more. They didn't sound quite as intense as the last one, but they were just asking if I was Alex Calvo. And when I said, who wants to know, what is this about? They told me that they would maybe be interested in purchasing some things that I might have here at the house. I didn't go into more detail. I said that I wasn't sure. I just said, call me back at some other time because they wouldn't give me a number to call back. So I said, give me a couple days and call me back. I'll try to record the call when they do call again because this sounds pretty interesting to me. Alright, I want to start today thanking all you guys for helping me out to find something to record my incoming calls. My phone does not appear to have the automatic option, so I'm looking at the different apps you guys suggested, but you gave me a lot of options and I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Now, the journal today is really interesting in a different way. It's not going into the super religious and mythological terms like the last couple times. This one calls back to what he talked about in the radio interview. He mentioned that he had met H.P. Lovecraft in the 1930s, He also mentioned he really disliked him, but apparently he knew some things, and my great-grandfather really suspected some bad things. I'll just go ahead and show you what it says. For those that don't know, H.P. Lovecraft is the writer of the Cthulhu mythos. Okay, he wrote, still concerned about cosmic cults, and cosmic is like weirdly written over, or I don't know, somewhere in New England. Lovecraft definitely raised in one. His mother, his knowledge, even as exaggerated as it is. They always exaggerate. Teeth also a factor. Strong impression he knew about the idol. Specific questions. Long dead, but could not have been alone. Maybe call HH, ? So many real things finding its way into fiction, likely to get worse. So it seems that he felt that Lovecraft knew some stuff. He said he exaggerated it, but I guess there were certain things that tipped him off. He talks about, the teeth. I don't know what that means. He talks about an idol. I don't know if that's the same one he talked about in The Exorcist or what. I don't know. And then later he talks about maybe calling HH. I don't know what that means. You guys are always really good at finding out what this stuff means. So, do your thing, guys. Let me know. Help me out. I've decided, based on the advice that a lot of you have given me here, to hold off for a minute on posting more from the journal, maybe especially things that mention things that might be here in the house, given those calls that I've been getting. So today I'm just going to go into stuff, kind of going back into other stuff I've already talked about, giving some of my thoughts, and replying to some of the things a lot of you guys have been asking me. Maybe it'll clarify some stuff and, get my head thinking about what I want to say when these people call me again, what I want to ask them. Okay, so what I do think about the trunk situation, obviously my great-grandfather stored the contents somewhere. I do believe that they're under the house, like Megan said. I have not been able to get under the main section of the house, because if you recall, when I went under the other section, it was only my grandmother's room. It looks like it was an addition that was built on later, and the rest of the house was completely blocked off. So I'm still looking for another way to get in there. I don't want to have to go through the floorboards, but, we'll see what happens. What I do believe I know to be in whatever is there now, if it's a newer trunk or if it's some other kind of container, the things that I've already mentioned, so I'm not afraid to say that, obviously writings from, he would be my great-great-great-grandfather, Leo's grandfather, books that he had, he said the Malefius Maleficarum, maybe the Lesser Key of Solomon, probably others, some kinds of idols, the one, like, Pazuzu thing, maybe something he talked about, a cosmic cult idol of some kind, Roland's Cross, which, the more I've researched it, the more I think it has to do with, Roland, who served under Charlemagne, because he was associated with like magical Christian relics and some kind of cross that affects weird paranormal things. Seems like it falls into that category. So yeah, that's what I assume is down there, among other things that I know about, at least. Now, in terms of what he meant about Bridget's blessing, I assume that has something to do with the tree, whether it refers to the tree itself or something that was done to the tree. Like some of you guys pointed out that it looked like a fairy tree or a fair folk tree. That's what Megan said it felt like to her. So yeah, I really don't know much about that subject. I don't know. You guys have told me that Bridget is a Celtic goddess who was associated with those beings, and yeah, so that's what I assume that means. Now, this last one, which I'm most apprehensive to bring up, but I already have, so about the Psalms, the sons of man. The impression that I get, and some of you seem to have gotten as well, is that this was just a Catholic organization, basically from very high up, that handled, dealing with supernatural threats going back at least over 100 years, probably a lot longer. I assume my family was involved with it for a while. It seems like at several points they broke off because they did not agree with how dogmatic and focused on certain things they were. That's all for now, but I might post something later. So I'm still waiting for a call back from whoever it is that is calling, saying they're interested in buying things in the house. I'm not really going to say my plans on what I'm going to do about that because, obviously I assume they're watching these and I don't want them to know. I don't want to give them any kind of advantage like that. I do want to address a couple more things that some people have mentioned and just some things that I've been thinking about, so that's what we're going to do today. I'm much more rested today than I have been in a long time, and some of you are asking about, I said Melissa wakes up around 3 or 4 a.m. I was just throwing really numbers out there. It's not like something specific to 3 a.m. I know some people think that that's like a bad time. It's not something that was specific to this house. She has always been kind of a bad sleeper. She wakes up anywhere from like 1:30 to 4:30 in the morning and will stay up, and just kind of want to hang out. And yeah, like I said, it has not kicked up in this house. I don't think it has anything to do with the activity. And, anyway, speaking of activity, I haven't posted about that in a while because honestly, since, that night that I saw my grandmother, nothing dramatic has happened. There's a couple, I'll hear a thud or a bump every now and then, or maybe see something out of the corner of my eyes. But, if it's not dramatic, and especially if I don't capture it on my phone, I don't really feel like posting it because, people don't believe what they see even when I do post it. So I'm not just going to sit here and talk about things I see, hoping people believe me. I also still get a lot of comments of people saying, oh, that's not your grandma, oh, that's not your great-grandfather, it's a demon. And you know what? Honestly, I respect everybody's beliefs, but I do not fall in line with that at all. Based on what I've seen, what I've experienced, and, the context of all this, I really do believe that what's going on here is the spirits of my family. I don't get any kind of negative, like I've said before, in the moment, it's scary as hell. But I don't get any kind of negative feelings from it. I don't have any sense of danger. Nothing bad has happened to anyone in the house. Nobody feels bad here. Even with Frogette, I have not found her again. She's kind of, it seems maybe she's hiding. I don't know. I don't think there's anything going on there. Like I said, Melissa played with her when she first found her, but since then she's just kind of been uninterested. Does not seem like it wants to attach to Melissa at all. I don't know. So yeah, in terms of that, I'm convinced that it is the spirits of my family. So yeah, I'm going to wait out this call. I'm going to record it when I get it, and I'll post it up here, and, we'll see what I decide to do from there. Hopefully I'll be able to start going back into the journal again, because there are a few more really interesting things in there. I'm still looking for the way into under the house, but, like I've said a couple other times, I do have a life, so I do have responsibilities, so I can't spend all my time working on this. But, hopefully I'll have some updates for you pretty soon. So I still have not gotten a call back from whoever it was that called offering to purchase things. They wouldn't give me a number. I told them to call back after a couple days. That was on Friday, I believe. As I've told you, I plan to record whenever they do call. I'm set up and ready for that. That might be part of the reason why they haven't called. I'm most interested really in just trying to get a sense of who it is they are and why they're interested in these things. Other than that, there are a couple things you guys have mentioned that made me take a look around. Regarding the stuff in the backyard. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you what I found there. Some interesting stuff. A lot of you also mentioned fruit trees and wind chimes. There were wind chimes here from my grandma already. This is an orange tree that's sitting out here. There's passion fruit vines growing everywhere, dropping little passion fruits, I did find something a little strange out here in the yard that I want to show you guys, and maybe you can help me figure it out. Okay, most of the fence, as you guys have seen, is covered with trees or bushes or vines and stuff. But on all the posts that I could get kind of a decent look at, I'm seeing this symbol. That's another one. Again, you can see it over here. And then the clearest one that I've seen, I think, is there maybe. I don't know. That's another thing I have no idea about, so if you guys recognize that symbol, let me know in the comments. So it's a little early, I'll probably post this up later. I had that dream again, the clearest version of it yet, the weirdest version of it yet. I don't know how much of this is just my mind playing tricks because of all the stuff that I've been looking at and thinking of. But I went into the room. My grandmother and great-grandfather were not arguing anymore. They were just kind of sitting quietly. As I walked in, my grandmother looked at me. She smiled in a way that was kind of like, I don't know, like she seemed kind of concerned, but okay. My great-grandfather, Leo, he just kind of looked at me and smiled. He didn't seem as concerned. He seemed more proud. And then the guy, the other man who looks like somebody from the 1800s, the one who I'm assuming at this point is Harold, which was Leo's grandfather. He had the chest plate. I could see a small engraving on it. It was not exactly the same as what was on that Sons of Man paper, but it was similar, like the motif of a shield with a cross on it and a sword going down into it. I also noticed, I said that his hair was tied back, and for those of you who have long hair, sometimes it kind of bunches up in a way, and it looked very similar to when that shadow person that I chased down a long time ago. He kind of had a little bit of a flatness to the top of his head, a little bit, and it really struck me as being identical. So I am, like Megan said, she thought that was him. I'm almost certain. Um, I don't know. I feel like we were going to start a conversation, and then I woke up. So I don't know. I'm definitely going to be paying attention for any more of these that happen. So I don't know. Another thing that I don't know if it's related, but it's weird. I just received this in the mail. It was addressed to my address, but it had a different name. I don't know. I don't know. It just seems like a weird kind of maybe witchy thing. I don't know. I've also decided that if this group that called me doesn't get back in touch with me today or tomorrow, I'm just going to go back into the journal. I'm going to go full back on looking for stuff. I'm not going to let them intimidate me into shutting up. Enough people see this; it's public enough. I'm not really overly concerned about it. So you can look forward to that. I want to start this one off by thanking everybody who's following me, who's watching these videos, going along this journey with me, being very supportive. You guys, I appreciate you more than you know. It's been incredibly helpful in some troubling times here, and I really appreciate it. Now, I'm going to need you guys to bear with me because, you've probably been watching, and even though this is all crazy, I try to stay as relatively grounded with all this as I can. I mentioned a long time ago that when this all started, when I came here, I was a complete skeptic. That is long gone, and I now regularly look into and deal in things that, were complete fantasy to me before. So it's kind of shocking sometimes, even to me, to see how nonchalantly I talk about things like ghosts and skinwalkers and all that kind of stuff. But I had the dream again last night, or this morning, and it is the wildest version. It is the craziest thing so far. So I don't know. I hope you guys can believe this. So I walked into my grandmother's room. Her and my great-grandfather were sitting to the side, just like they were last time. My grandmother gave me that same concerned smile. Great-grandfather Leo, that kind of prideful smile. And then I walked up to where in the corner, who I believe is Harold, wearing that piece of chest armor with the cross and the sword on it. Was not an inverted cross. Some of you seem to really want this to be satanic, but that is not the vibe I'm getting at all. He talked to me. In the memory, I'm just a little kid. He kind of talked to me like a child, but not really. Clearly he knew that he was talking to the adult me. And basically he just told me, I know you're not a fighter. That's okay. Just tell our story. And so that's what I'm doing. You guys know. Trying to make that book happen. It's coming along. Writing. I don't usually write this kind of stuff. My forte is generally narrative fiction. Told in third person perspective. So I don't know. I'm working on it. I'm going to get it done. But the last thing that he told me was behind the stairs. So I'm going to try to, those stairs are kind of bolted down. I'm going to see if I can move them. Maybe that's the way under the house. So I'll be updating later today about that. So I found the behind the stairs, and I think I'm really close to finding that trunk or whatever it is now. Let me just show you what I've got. Okay, it took most of my free time today to get these things unstuck. They were not bolted down. They were just stuck to the floor. I got the girls here enjoying some Halloween family fun, making sure that I survive. But I got to show you guys this. So, as horrifyingly creepy as this looks like this is where I'm going to be heading in the very near future. So I'm about to head down there. It's a pretty big space. I don't know how long it's going to take me. I don't know exactly what I'm going to find. I've got Sallow up here watching Melissa, making sure if something happens to me, she can call 911. So I'll get a video up as soon as I can. We'll see what I find.